Good morning, Lompoc.
Good morning, barely.
It's still morning.
It's 11 a.m. here on Friday, and we're 2.5 hours late. But
know.
a few of you are still there, and we're so grateful.
Thank you guys so much for bearing with us through our technical challenges. We had everything ready to go.
We were on time.
We got up at 4. Mm-hmm. We were putting everything in at the last minute. It was 8:28. We're like, oh, yes, we're finally there. We're ready. And then you click the button, and then it just keeps spinning and spinning and spinning.
So just to double check before we go too far, Lori Jervis or Jolie Ellman, just please let us know if you can hear us okay.
Yes.
And we want to make sure it's loud enough for everyone.
Yeah. Because we feel like maybe today we've been like cursed a little bit since like Jeremy went to the dark side now, and
what
like with politics and stuff.
Well.
So now like our karma juju's all messed up. So hopefully not. Hopefully we can fix that. So
all right. Well, I think we have a pretty packed show today. We've got just a fascinating interview with just somebody connected to Lompoc. It's going to blow your mind, and there's some really interesting art and history and connection here. So we're excited to share that with you in just a bit.
Yep.
And what else we've got
just some fun, silly stuff today. Yeah. I guess we should just get right into it. So, first of all, this is how you're feeling this morning after everything kept getting messed up and over.
She's so excited.
She almost missed it.
She cannot believe it. I'd probably do the same thing.
Now, what do you think of that?
She's pretty impressed.
She is so excited.
That whale is having way too much fun. So that's not what we were having this morning.
Well, no, but maybe someday we can get out on the water and turn off our phones and our computers.
Yes.
And not care about those things. That would be nice.
But speaking of animals, this was another cool find. This group of researchers, they took their kind of a research trip out to South Dakota? North Dakota. Let's see. South Dakota, and they were digging around, and they found a Triceratops skull.
A whole one.
A giant Triceratops skull in the Badlands of South Dakota, and it weighed 3,000 pounds and was 7 feet long. Can you imagine having a head that big? I can't.
Just wonder what it was doing in South Dakota. I mean, I'm just joking.
But it's
pretty incredible.
I guess that's, one little bone in its head. Maybe it's a neck bone.
Who knows?
I don't know. But I thought that was pretty impressive.
It's
crazy. The find of a lifetime.
Wow.
The guy said, or one of the seniors there said, it's the find of a lifetime. I was just a little sad it came this early in my life. But in all seriousness, this was a great research opportunity.
Well, that's just so cool.
She's like, my life can just be over. And I'll just start anew again because...
No, you and I have had, I think, at least one little what do you call it when you're digging for old stuff that we did?
Fossil?
No. Archaeological
dig. We did do an archaeological dig in Italy, in Rome, just outside of Rome.
But we didn't find any bones.
We didn't find any bones. We found a lot of tile, mosaic pieces.
Dig for bones, dinosaur bones.
Yeah. So Moksha's supposed to hook us up. Apparently there's a little dig site here in the Santa Rita Hills. Or near the Santa Rita Hills, near Halama. So
we're going to try to follow up on that eventually.
Hopefully we can get out there. We'll see.
Yeah. Right.
Also in Good News Network, in the UK, they had to do a shutdown really, really quickly. Mm-hmm. And so everybody had to pack up their offices and get out immediately. And in this one office building, everybody had plants. And they thought that their plants were all going to be dead by the time they went back 3 months later. Mm-hmm. And they found out that the security team had been keeping them alive. They took every single plant from every single office on all 12 floors, and they put them all in the cafeteria, and they turned the cafeteria into a greenhouse.
Wow, that's really cool.
And what was kind of cool about that, too, is that every single plant was individually labeled with the desk person's name and what floor they were on so that they could go home to their proper owner.
It just takes one thoughtful person to say, well, this is what we should do. That's
Isn't that
really
nice?
Really incredible.
Cheers to good people.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool. Good find.
And then locally, the Hi Let's Eat sign is getting close.
You remember they had a GoFundMe for that here recently.
Everybody could get a light bulb, right? Everybody bought a light bulb with their name on it. But I don't think our names are going to be physically on it. But you know what I mean.
But we got to contribute. And this should be wrapping up hopefully in the next few months. And the goal is to get it over to American Host Restaurant.
Yep.
So we'll try to keep you posted on that. But just so you know, it is in the works. So that's very cool.
And as everybody knows, this weekend is Labor Day weekend.
Yes, people working. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all the workers. So Miss Alaya Bayerjean has a little bit more information on Labor Day.
Good morning, Lompoc. This is Alaya with Fun Fact Friday. Today's theme is Labor Day. No one really knows for sure who came up with the idea for it. But New York City was the first to celebrate on September 5, 1882. Labor Day celebrates American workers. Of the approximately 150 million workers in the U.S., nearly 4 million are teachers. Labor Day is the third most popular day in the U.S. for growing. Number 1 is the 4th of July. Other countries celebrate Labor Day on May 1st, or known as May Day. That's all for Fun Fact Friday. We hope you have a fun weekend. Bye.
Thank you so much, Miss Alaya.
So cool.
I didn't know that that there was 2 separate holidays. That there's May Day, because I always thought I always think that Labor Day is in May, but that's just the international.
Yeah, I think we get confused.
Workers' Day. So all the other countries celebrate that. I think we do too. Probably. Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to double check that.
Yeah. I'll have to look it up.
But it's just nice to have a day off, right?
Absolutely.
I don't think people are going to be grilling so much this weekend, or if they are, they will hopefully be doing it in a freezer.
Frozen basement, I think would be the optimum option.
It is supposed to be extremely
blazing
hot this weekend. Yeah. So it's been foggy the last few days and kind of cold, and I've been tempted to turn my heater on. But I run cold-blooded. I'm like a lizard. So,
but it's supposed to start creeping up tomorrow for sure, all the way into Monday. Kind of some extreme heat conditions. So remember to keep that in mind. And if you know some folks that don't have an air conditioner and they're not necessarily ready for this, or some of our seniors too, just keep them in mind and check in on them. Yeah, I think that's very important. Yeah. And do your best to stay cool. It doesn't seem like we're going to be able to go lay on any beach or sit there. Yeah. I think you can go to a beach only if you're running or surfing or something. Okay. But, I can't go hang out. You'll see me running out to surf beach or something. So we're going to have to pull out our little, do we have a pool yet? A kiddie
pool? We don't,
here?
But about 3 years ago, Facebook reminded me that we had built a makeshift air conditioning unit in our house.
And some of you will remember this.
And maybe you can, hopefully maybe you can draw some inspiration here. There's still time to maybe get something broken down like ours and get some tubing. This was from about 3 years ago. We had kind of this sunroom, and that was a garbage bag, and then we insulated that, and then we had this tube that went all the way into the living room. Our cat wasn't too excited about that. And then brought it all the way in so that we could stay cool from the convenience of our living room. So, and that's Jeremy with a big beard.
God, that looked a little bit like Brad.
It did. Maybe that was Brad. That wasn't Jeremy.
We hadn't even, met at that time. We'd been separated for so many years. So
were you separated at birth? And then he came back for our wedding because he was in our wedding pictures. Yeah, and then he left again for a little while.
That's still debatable. I don't know. Anyway, I thought that was, we just rigged it. I thought that was a creative solution. And it totally worked. And we could move the big tubing around to a different room.
You could just hold it in front of your face.
Or take it right into the bathroom right after. Never mind. Michelle, never mind.
Okay, let's move on.
It's later in the morning. You guys should really be awake by now.
If you need some other activities on stuff to do for Labor Day weekend, this was really fun. This guy has a automatic tennis ball machine.
How cool is that?
I think that's what kids are for, right?
I don't think you can start any earlier.
No, but see, it's like it's starting the labor early, right? Man. I don't know.
Well, that's pretty cute.
That's cute.
Yeah, I don't play tennis, but that looked like fun.
And then
borrow a baby maybe and go to the tennis courts.
If you need to cool off on the floor, or you need something for recreation since you can't go to the beach, this also looked like fun. I think
a few mechanics have this in the shop. Good. Careful.
I think I'd get so sick if I did that. Anyways, ideas for the weekend.
Hey, there you
Speaking of weekend,
Yes.
so this is kind of how our interview got going. Therese Vanier, she's a local author. They have a brand new book coming out called Dead Reckoning. And that's based on, it's a historical fiction based on the disaster that happened out at Honda Point back in 1923. So the book is being officially released on September 8th, 97 years after the anniversary of that happening. But they're going to be having a book signing out at the Lompoc Veterans Memorial.
Yeah, out in front of there. And joining them.
So that's going to be this Saturday at 10 a.m. I think it goes from 10 a.m. to 12. And there's going to be all the social distancing in place. It's going to be held outside. But the artist for the Honda Point disaster mural that's inside that building, his name's Fulton Leroy Washington. He goes by Mr. Wash. He has just a fascinating story. He's going to be there as well. And he agreed to do a little interview with us. And he just had some just a fascinating story. We spent about an hour and 20 minutes with him and had to shorten it down. But if you don't know his story, do you want to share a little bit?
Sure. I
feel like I'm talking a lot.
There's so much to talk about. He was in prison here in Lompoc. He was finishing up, not even finishing up, he was serving a life sentence. And back in, I believe, 2017, 2016, 2013. Anyway, his sentence was
2016, and he was when he was commuted.
Yes, his sentence was commuted, granting him his freedom. Aside from that amazing story and how that all took place and the journey to get there, he's an amazing artist. And here in Lompoc, he connected here and created, I believe, 3 pieces that are just beautiful, mostly in honor of the military here. But just a powerfully inspirational figure. He's gone through so much. His perspective is just mind blowing. So, I think we have to
give a little brief introduction of that. But before I leave that, I want to talk a little bit more about Dead Reckoning. So, historical fiction novel. This is the little plug that they put together in case you want to learn a little bit more about it.
September 8th, 1923. 7 ships of the United States Navy's Destroyer Squadron 11 bear full speed into a treacherous section of California coastline known as the Devil's Jaw. Half of the squadron is destroyed, and 23 sailors lose their lives. Nearly a century later, authors Michael Corbin Ray and Therese Vanier have teamed up to bring new life to this tragedy in their novel Dead Reckoning. Mixing real-life characters and events with the fictional adventures of young sailors on liberty and at work in the confined spaces of their ships, the book is a moving, sometimes heartbreaking look at the lives of those forgotten by history, the men toiling below deck at the mercy of mistakes made far above their pay grade. It's a story as timely today as it ever was. Available September 8th from Ba Press.
So,
there you go.
Yeah, looks very interesting.
So again, if you're just joining us, there's a book signing for this book this Saturday morning.
At 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
So it's all going to be outside. They'll be spaced apart. But you'll be able to pick up your copy there, meet the authors, and then you'll also have a chance to meet Mr. Wash. So that's the gentleman who we got a chance to interview. I kind of wanted to set up a little bit of what happened in terms of his arrest, because we had a very long interview and got off on a few tangents, so we didn't have a chance to include everything. But basically, he'd had a prior arrest in the 1980s, and then in 1996, I believe, or 1995, he'd been working, he had a construction company, and at the site he was working with, apparently there was something going on there, something was involved. He didn't have anything to do with it, just wrong place, wrong time. But he's maintained his innocence this entire time, chose to avoid having his sentence commuted to just a short 3-year sentence because he refused to plead guilty. And then his sentence ended up being commuted to time served in 2016 by President Obama. And he is still fighting to have his record completely expunged. They have all the evidence. They just need the procedural stuff adjudicated.
So they have all the evidence. They already have acquired all the evidence that he is not guilty.
Yeah.
The court just has not adjudicated the evidence. So it's a multi-year process. They keep having to throw money at it. So it's a crazy story about some of the things that fall through the cracks in our justice system, perhaps. But aside from that, he is so upbeat, positive. Yep. He looks at all of this as just an amazing, not say amazing, but they are all experiences.
Enlightening experience. And not only that, so he's always been artsy, and he really honed his craft, obviously, in prison. But he was able to send these pieces of art back home for his family to sell in order to pay for the lawyers to continue to write, which eventually got him out, and that is continuing to pay for his fight today with his paintings. So,
and aside from that, I don't think we were able to include it either, but he's been to Leavenworth, he's been to some crazy prisons, but in all of these stops, he's always built either a curriculum or a class or some way to, from his early days, he was teaching young men in prison welding. As he got older, he was teaching art and drafting. But
he was a teacher before he got to prison as well. So, but then, and then he ended up in Lompoc, and his family was in Compton, so Lompoc was a convenient place because it was a little bit closer to his family to come and visit. And the Lompoc community definitely embraced his art, and he'll be back in town this weekend. So we're really excited to share this interview with you, and you'll get a little bit more information about him. So this is Mr. Wash.
The first time Lompoc, I think I can remember it come to mind, it had been a long fight to get back to California. They sent me to prison. They sent me first away from California to Kansas, to Leavenworth Penitentiary. Okay. And it took me years to get from Leavenworth Penitentiary, and they gave me a halfway point. They dropped me off in Colorado. So I stayed in Colorado for another almost a decade. And my case manager just, she straight out told me, look, you have a good record. You do your time well with your art. I'm going to send you here, and this is the closest we can get, and this will be your last transfer, meaning that basically you would die at that prison should you never get out. I was like, so that's my first thought, getting back to Lompoc. So this whole thing is all about the Honda Point disaster and those ships of that era. My job as a young adult teenager was dismantling those ships piece by piece. I worked in the non-ferrous department. So that was my job, is to go through that ship and find anything that magnet didn't stick to, put it in a cart, then later divide it into its categories so it could be resold or remelted. When the opportunity came to paint Honda Point disaster, it just brought back the memories. Yeah, I know how this goes. So the things that I couldn't see in photographs, I'm like, I remember that. I used to climb on top of this to get to this gun. It should have a metal seat. So my mind is adding portions of that mural from what I could see through these poor quality black and white photos to my own memory of actually working on ships similar to that. I started out, with that type of work, and I moved on from that back and forth, doing concrete and ironwork. And eventually I had a pretty decent sized company during the time I was a school teacher. I hired probably about 65% of my students that we trained and got certified as welders. My company grew from a crew of about 8 to about 60. We could build anything, if you can imagine it. And I had drafting skills. So some of my artistic skills come from the 11th grade at Gardena High School when I took drafting. And I liked it. The accuracy of the different size pencils and stuff. So I was able to draw mechanical things, and then whatever I could draw, I could build. There was no drugs involved in this case. There were chemicals involved in this case, but those chemicals was not in the vehicle that I was in. But they did say, and they converted and twisted the jury's mind. They took things like a raincoat. The guy had, they ride bulls and horses. They said that equipment was equal to putting on a scientific PPP suit. Whatever it was they found was regular household items that the government interpreted that if combined together, that it could be used for this purpose. And so it was no way to argue. I didn't have any argument because I didn't know what they found in there. I wanted to see whatever it was, but they never really showed any direct evidence. They just wrote up a scenario and it passed through without a decent challenge against it. I was naive. Even at the time of the arrest, I remember asking the guy, I said, what am I here for? And they say, well, did he read you your rights? I'm like, yeah. Did you have anything to say? No. Well, that means you're guilty, booking. And that was the last word. There was never asked what your name is, nothing. They just booking. So I'm thinking that, okay, well, whatever happened, I'll be going home. So even after getting in the system, and even the lawyer saying, well, they'll get it all straightened out. They don't really have anything against you. You'll be going home. But that I'll be home with for 20 years. I stayed packed. I kept my bags packed for 20 years.
You said for 20 years, you always thought you were going to go home. Did they ever offer you like a shorter sentence if you pled guilty?
Oh, yeah, they offered, I think it was the first one came in 1999, which was about 3 years in. They offered a time served sentence for an exchange of a guilty plea. And I was like, no, I can't do it. I read the thing. I can't do it. I don't know nothing about this. I've never even been to these places. I never even saw this stuff before. No.
So tell me a little bit about when you found out that your sentence was being commuted. That, like, how did you find out?
At the time when it came through, it was right after lunch, exercise time. The motion had been before the court for about 3 years, and my name came across the loudspeaker. Washington, 08204-112, report to your unit team. And I'm like, oh man, what do these people want, man? I mean, I'm not going to, where am I going? I said, well, I'm not messing with the people today, man. I'm having a good day. I don't need nothing to come through. We got class. I got to teach my class in like 25 minutes. I got to get my 10 sets in. So I'm doing my workout and doing my thing. And I see Cricket walk across the yard toward where we working out at. And he never on the yard at that time. Then I started thinking about the last time that they called my name. My mother died. She was on her way to come visit me. And they called me to tell me to come. Oh, man. And so I met him in the middle of the yard. I grabbed my bags and stuff. And as I'm walking, the thought that came to my mind is, who died? I walked back with him and I'm like, what's going on, man? He's like, I don't know, man. It's all suits. It's all suits. All the suits is in there, man. I'm like, wow. So I put my hands up. I said, look, whatever it is, I did it. I accept full responsibility to anything that y'all have. I'm just asking you, please do not put your hands on me and do not jump at me real fast. I'm just telling you, before, and I'm at the door and there's like, well, I just promise you're not in no trouble. In fact, this is good news. The phone rang and they answered the phone. And I think that was really kind of strange. They answered the phone and they was like, yes, sir, he's here. And so then the voice comes out, Mr. Washington, are you okay? I'm fine. Well, this is James Feldman, your lawyer. He said, well, I just wanted to call. I just talked to your daughter, Erica, and she's ecstatic right now. Yes, she's an emotional child. I just wanted to let you know that you're a free man. And he said, I look around, I'm guarded by at least a half a dozen people. All right. So that's pretty much the way it went. I didn't really accept it. I couldn't see a difference in freedom.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, you win a piece of paper or they say, you just won the lottery, you're a millionaire. And you scraping this can of beans trying to get some food out of it. You're a millionaire. You ain't gonna have to starve no more. I'm hungry right now, but I'm gonna get this juice out of it. I think it was a blessing that God seen fit for me to be where he put me, because the experience was one that's memorable. I learned a lot about people and cultures. Being on that yard, every yard is different. It teaches you something. It's like going to a different country. Each prison is like a different country in the United States. It operates similar upon the human conduct, but who they choose to put in each one is systematically chosen by some unknown entity that you don't know. So you find yourself in this environment. It's hostile. You find yourself in this environment. It's more peaceful. You find yourself in this environment. It's more educational. You find yourself in this environment. It's more cultural. And sometimes, even though it's clear to see once you experience it, it happens inside the prison, but it also happens in different groups up on the yard. So I was able to, to go to each one of them places and get a very good life lesson out of each one, something that I could carry with. I was able to redirect the lives of so many people that was living in that system in fear. I continue to the day. I do as close as I can to try to do something artistic every day. I try to find 2 people to help unconditionally, and hopefully they be strangers every day. And I'm just moving forward. This is how my life and my career is unfolding. This life only works for all of us if we can find a way to help somebody else.
Yeah. I just love that perspective.
He was just great. You guys have no idea.
Guy.
We were talking with him for over an hour.
It was an hour and 22 minutes.
So we had a lot more content that we can put in, and of course, there's just a lot of story parts, but that we couldn't include. But here's the good news: is that he's coming into town either later today or first thing in the morning, and he's going to be there at the book signing, and you get to see his beautiful art in the Veterans Memorial Building there. And if now you know the story behind it and who painted it, and if you'd like to dig into more of that, you can ask him questions tomorrow. So.
Yeah, and it was a kind of a more complicated story about how he ended up in jail in 1986, how the arrest happened, but we couldn't squeeze it all in. But from at least from what I asked him about, a lot of the newspapers didn't get the story exactly straight. And I think it's because it was pretty complicated, just wrong place, wrong time. But
just imagine being, just serving out your life in Lompoc. And then in 3 years before he was commuted, they started working on some of this paperwork. But just to get that news and the story of that experience of, thinking somebody had died and then realizing he had received his freedom.
And there's a little mini documentary about it on his website. His website's called Art by Wash.
Yes.
So easy to find. You'll see a lot of his work on there. But he's getting involved in lots of different things.
He's working out some details with some folks on possible film coming up, a possible book, a few different things that he mentioned.
Yeah.
And he's still painting.
Coming up, too, at the Hammer. I will. Okay. So at the Hammer Museum, there is the Made in LA. Made in LA 2020. That's the Hammer Museum teamed up with the Huntington Museum.
Huntington Library.
Huntington Library in Pasadena. And that is going from September 26th through January 3rd. So hopefully you'll be able to head out there and see. He's one of the presenting artists out there. I think one of 29 or 30 artists. And there is a couple different awards, but there's one of them is People's Choice Awards. So if you end up heading down there and visiting, you get to vote in that. So you could potentially vote for him. And I did want to show
the winner gets a cash prize of like $20,000, which goes a long way in this situation for sure.
Yeah.
So, yes.
And then I wanted to show a few of his pieces. He has quite a range. It was interesting. I guess he said when he was in Colorado, he did a lot of kind of abstract artwork, and then he was accused of having a business because his family was selling it to pay legal fees. So then he decided to only do traditional art, meaning stuff that you could see like from a photo, and that's how the Honda Point project, I guess, came about, was because he was focused on only, if I'm going to paint murals, I'm not going to paint anything that they can construe as me trying to escape prison or something like that. So that was kind of an interesting thing. But this is some of his artwork for you to see. So obviously self-portrait there. Just really interesting. This is also here in Lompoc. And then this is him, getting his...
This one's titled Emancipation.
Yeah.
And it takes on a whole new meaning.
I know, right?
Crazy story.
That's just stunning to me. Absolutely gorgeous. Anyways,
we're super excited to meet him tomorrow
Yes.
again at the Dead Reckoning book signing happening at and in front of the Memorial Building here in Lompoc, the Veterans Memorial Building, tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.
At 10 a.m.
So
if you can check it out,
go check it out.
Head over there. I think that's it for our show.
Yay! So the news about next week.
Yes.
So things are getting really busy. Our business is pretty busy.
It's harvest time, so we usually always get busy this time of year.
I'm doing some other things in Lompoc.
Which we can't talk about.
But we're going to take next week off. But that we have some guests lined up. We have some music coming back on our next show. So if you can bear with us and wait until I believe it's September 18th.
Yep.
We'll be back with a packed show.
Just give us a couple weeks to kind of catch our breath and come up with some new material. And
we're going to be sending a correspondent on the road. We're not sending, they're going on the road.
Yes.
But they're going to report from several of our national parks just for Good Morning Lompoc. So for those of you that haven't had the chance to get out and travel or hit the road or do this awesome once-in-a-lifetime road trip, we have someone doing that. And
our good friend Vic Thompson, here local, grew up in Lompoc, and he's going to be in an RV and doing business on the road for a year.
I'm a little jealous.
We're both very jealous. So.
Anyway, I think they're gonna start up in Glacier National Park, which is way up north. But one way or another, that should be an exciting addition. So stay tuned for that. Again, we're off next week. We'll be back 2 weeks from today, September 18th, for another hopefully amazing Good Morning Lompoc.
Yes.
Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for bearing with our technical challenges this morning. Here is your moment of Zen. Try to stay safe this weekend. And try to stay cool as much as possible, and we will see you on the 18th.